Hi everyone, and welcome to the last session of our Cairo Bootcamp. Last live session of our Cairo Bootcamp. We still have 3 more weeks, which the first 2 weeks will be for project week. So basically, every participant of the bootcamp is expected to build something tangible. But then you can form teams, you can do whatever you want. But basically, the idea is for you guys to start like building on starknet and also okay, let me just try and highlight it over here. Oh, yes. Yeah, so basically the project week is going to, or project phase is going to run for 2 weeks. And what we actually expect from everyone is to build something solid. As it says, it says to build real world projects. So you're just basically going to apply what you have learned throughout the bootcamp. And we don't actually expect that you're already an expert, which is why we don't expect you to build a full-fledged product, but then something very tangible. And of course, you can form teams within each other, basically. And then we expect to see a project repo and also a brief documentation. And the price pool would be $1,000, and it will spread across first place, second place, and third place. And yeah, the evaluation criteria are very simple. We just have to like have all this good code quality, demo, presentation, and all that to for the judges to be able to like assess your project and be certain that you actually did something great. So the winners for this project week, there's project phase, is going to be announced on the graduation day. So let me just show you that. So the graduation, it's going to be the final week, which is the 10th week. And this is not meant to be day one and day two. So all this will be done on the 10th of July, right? So we are going to have someone from from the foundation to talk about the base camp, the next steps, and also we will have Emily from Only Dust to talk about Only Dust and open source contribution. And also we'll have Elias, who is the co-founder of OneRAM, to talk about his journey and how he has been building on StackNet so far. Then I myself, I will talk about the African ecosystem on StackNet and the next step and everything basically. And as well, just like I said, the winners of the project phase is going to be announced the same day. And we're also going to provide something that will serve as a certificate, but then on-chain to people that did very, very great throughout the bootcamp. And like I said initially, yesterday that we did the bonus session, everyone has been doing great. I mean, it's not easy to be consistent in a 10-week program. I mean, I can tell you that, but everyone has been doing great, and I hope that at the end of the day, this is going to be like very rewarding to everyone that participated, and all. Which the first step is the bounty we have set up for this bootcamp. So I urge you to build out something great and also do something amazing. So you can just start building on StackNet basically, and that's all. Yeah, so Manouh, you can take over from here.
All right. GM everyone. How are we doing today? I don't want to ask about your week because I'm sure everyone had a rough week. Having classes back to back 3 times. I think this is the third time this week. So I'm sure almost everybody's tired already. And then this is the end. So if you have from the beginning, you made it to the end, congratulations, and then more grace to your elbow. But then it doesn't stop there. Let's try to do awesome stuff today, and this is going to equip you guys to build for the build week and subsequently for other project ideas that you have. So in the last class, we introduced introduction to integrating smart contracts to to our front end on starknet. And then we had a look at some of the tools we can work with, some of the APIs we can have access to, and then how to easily interact with it, connect with a node, connect with an account, and then interact with a smart contract on starknet. But all of those was just theory and nothing much. So today we are going to be doing the fun stuff, and not just also fun. I think the fun part of this is going to be the building of stuff and also the debugging when we get into errors and all that. So today I don't have any slides for you guys. All we are just going to be doing is looking at boring codes and then writing some code snippets. So by the end of this class, we should be able to successfully integrate a bookstore contract from end to end. So when I mean end to end, I mean we are going to successfully connect, and then we should be able to read from our smart contract and also write from our contract. All right, so I already have a smart contract written down for the book store contract as promised. Though I wanted us to vibe code some stuff, but then before the class, I just found that it was not going to be possible. So there's this recent stuff that was built by Casa Labs on agents. Sorry, I'm so used to agents. On starknet that can allow you vibe code and then vibe code in Cairo. So finally, we have AIs that can write Cairo. And then a friend of mine vibe coded and built a very simple chat app that can allow you prompt it and then it will help you write smart contracts. Cairo 1 contracts actually. So I just head over to there and then I tried to give it a prompt and then it generated it for me. Though I had some issues because there are little bugs or little stuff that need to be fixed for it to work perfectly. So that's why I did not bring the vibe coding parts to this class. So I just tried to fix everything myself and then make the deployment so that we won't have to do a lot of back and forth in the class today. So let's get started. So I'll be sharing my screen and we are going to spin up a React project from scratch like we did in the last class. So if you are not available, and then if you're a back-end dev, you are not familiar with front-end, you can just try as much as possible to follow us. And then we are going to be doing this like complete React newbies. So let's get started. So just give me a moment so I share my screen and we are good. All right, can you all see my screen? Let me see your emojis. Don't forget, that's very important to let me know that you guys are available. If not, I will just end up talking to myself for the whole of the session, which is not something I like to do. I want to be sure everyone is with me. Yeah, Mitch, thank you for your confirmation. So don't forget to always have your hands close to the thumbs up button or any of those buttons that you can press to let me know that we are together in this. And then do well to follow up so that we can be able to spot errors and be able to fix them together in the class. So I would have written a script for how everything will go from A to Z, and we are going to have a very perfect product from A to Z. But then I didn't do that simply because I want us to face some of these problems ourselves. And then we can try to solve these problems. When you guys are building your own stuff, it's not going to be new to you guys. Because if I do it the way the normal YouTube guys do, you are going to think it's very, very easy building in starknet and you're not going to face bugs. So let's try to see the bugs ourselves and try to fix them so that you are mentally ready for those bugs as we go. But I'm quite sure we're not going to be facing a lot of them because coding in Cairo or integrating starknet frontend is actually something I love doing. All right, so let me just switch to the file and then we'll spin up the project again. All right, so what I want to do is I want to spin up a Vite project, a React Vite project with Tailwind CSS. With Tailwind. And then I want to do that with Yarn. So I'm going to say Yarn create Vite. So this is we spinning up everything from scratch, trying to do everything from ground up. But in the last bootcamp, I think we made use of starknet scaffold, which can easily help us do the necessary setup without us having going through all those stress. But it's actually nice that in this bootcamp, we are starting everything from scratch. So you guys don't see a lot of things like rocket science. It's still the normal stuff that you know with React. And that's what we're going to do today. So let's call it starknet front end. Let me just put 2 at the end because I think I have one like that. All right, then let me spin up. It's going to be a React project, TypeScript. All right, so let's cd and get started. So let me just code it. All right, so we are in. And let's start from here. Run yarn to install everything. If you can't see, if my text on my screen are too tiny, I can just increase them for you. So if you have any difficulty seeing it, just let me know, call my attention, and then I can help you out to zoom in. All right. And then next up, I start the project with yarn dev. So if you're a backend dev, this will look like rocket science, but if you're a front-end dev, this is the normal thing we do every blessed day, right? All right. So let me just open a new tab for this here. All right, so this is the project spinned up. This is what it looks like now. And this, so I'm sure front-end developers with React are very much familiar with this. So let's try to, now next up, I'm going to install Tailwind CSS. So I'm going to be using Tailwind for the styling. It's not just going to be, it's not going to be anything serious, just something very, very minimalistic. But just to let you know that building here is still working with the same tools you were working with before, just a little bit of additions this time around. All right, so let me just get the command. So yarn add Tailwind. Appreciate. All right, so let's install that and then proceed with the setup. So let's clear our index.css and add the necessary stuffs we need. Let me just get this from the Tailwind side. All right. So let me just clear the space.
Hello, sir. Kindly zoom it in, please.
All right. Can you see now?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you too. Text up. I don't think we need this. All right. So next up, the next thing we are going to be doing is we will be setting up the starknet provider to get started. So if you guys remember from the previous documentation that we made use of, we are still going to refer back to that. All right, so let's install starknet kits. So with yarn, that's what we're working with. So yarn add starknet kits. Okay, so that's installed. And then next we are going to get starknet React installed. Not that we are going to be using the hooks from starknet React, just that we want to have access to some stuff from the core library, like the chains and all that. But we are not going to be making use of the hooks. So what we are going to be using today is just a very simple way to do it with starknet kit and starknet React. But nothing much from starknet React so that we don't get confused from the hooks. So let me just get that and install it. So that's starknet React /core. So let's just install the whole stuff. What's up, man? Okay, let's do it one at a time. So the core, and then we get the other stuff that will be needed. All right, so that's installed. Now, next up, we are going to let's install the chains now. All right, so that also is done. All right, so the first most important thing we are going to do is to set up the starknet provider. And then this starknet provider is a JSX file or TSX file that is going to help us out with all the necessary starknet configurations we are going to need to try to establish a connection. So this is where we are going to have access to which of the injected providers we want to work with, or whether it's all of them, or which of the explorers and all those stuffs, just the necessary configurations we need. So this is the most important file that we need to get set up. So let's just call it starknet provider.tsx. All right, so what's contained in this file? From the last class, we tried to explain it, but next, let's bring all the stuffs bit by bit, then we go over it again. So I'm just going to copy and paste this, then we try to explain it. That's this same file we worked with in the last class. All right, so this is it. The usual setup. So basically this is just a simple and a normal functional components that you know in React, but with the setup of starknet for starknet connections. So we are importing stuffs like the starknet config and the public provider. So these two stuffs, this provider, like I said, remember I told you guys the first step to wanting to interact with the blockchain is to connect to it at first from your front end. And then the provider is what is going to help us do the connection. So this public provider is given to us free by starknet React. And then this is a free provider that we can make use of within our app. There are other providers that we can work with, which include either we get our API key or our link from Alchemy or Infura or Blast API. I think I mentioned these three guys the last time. But then this provider is going to be the free provider, and then it's already in place here. So the next now is the starknet config. So this is a component that was built within starknet React that is going to help us with all this. This is going to be the setup. So look at this like our context or our data provider for all the starknet stuff we are going to be working with. So next are the chains. So we are importing this from starknet React /chains. So what did I do? So next are the chains, which can be any of the chains that we are going to be connected to. In this case, either mainnet or Sepolia. But for this class, we are going to be, our smart contract is deployed on Sepolia. So we are going to be interacting with Sepolia for the course of this class. And then next is the Voyager is an explorer. So this is one of the explorers we are going to be working with. We need this setup to be done in the config file. That's why we're bringing all these stuffs here. So the next thing is the starknet kit connector, which can help us to set our necessary connector that we are going to be using. Remember, I told you guys that there are different connectors we can work with, right? Either the injected connector or the web wallet connector. But currently, this one is imported as a type. So this is going to serve like as a type to know which type, whether it implements or was in the connector interface. But then the two connectors we are going to be working with are either the injected connector or the web wallet connector. So the injected connector are the normal connectors, you know, like the Agent X, which is the Agent extension, or the Bravos extension, or the Agent Mobile. These are one of those injected connectors. And then lastly is the web wallet connector, which I told you guys last time is a wallet that can be created with your email. And then this is completely done mostly with account abstraction. So Agent, it was built by Agent actually. So Agent extracted a lot of stuff whereby you can have a pop-up within any browser. You don't have to have any extension being installed. Anytime you want to query or want to connect to the blockchain, it's going to pop up for you, just like how we have the Google connector pop-up. You know, when you access an app and then you click connect with Google, automatically there's this pop-up that's been given to you by Google, which allows you to select your account or all those stuffs. So that's the same thing that was tried to, that's the same thing that was achieved here by the Agent team. So regardless of which device or what you are working with or which browser, whether you've been connected to that browser before or not, once you select or choose the web wallet connector, is going to give you that pop-up modal like the Google connector stuff. And then all you just have to do is insert your email, and then you verify your email, and then insert your password, and voila, you can be able to interact with the blockchain from there. So I find this wallet quite really interesting. There are other wallets we are going to be talking about. I think I introduced them last time, like Cartridge, and then I forgot the Agent Invisible SDK, which is one that I've been working with for a while now. So we currently have a project on mainnet that is running with that, and it's working with the Agent Invisible SDK. So that's a very cool SDK that I'm sure everyone wants to try. It implements stuff like session keys, and also it uses the Avenue Paymaster behind the scene. So what these two things can help you do is with the session keys, a user is just going to approve a transaction once. So once you connect to the dApp and then you approve a transaction or all the transactions you want to be running or all the methods you want to be calling within that session, anytime you want to interact with those functions, a pop-up modal is not going to be popped for you again. is automatically going to sign those transactions for you on the blockchain. So with this, you use your application like it's a normal Web2 app, but behind the scene, you are working as a Web3 platform. And then lastly is the paymaster. So the paymaster, you all know that as Web3 devs, they've told you, hey, for you to run transactions on the blockchain, you need gas and all those stuffs. So the paymaster is just a gas tank behind the scene that can help users sign transactions without them having to pay for gas themselves. I'm not saying gas is not paid. Gas is paid, but it's being sponsored by someone else with the paymaster, as the name implies, paymaster. So enough of all that. Those are just one of all other wallets that we can work with. But for this case, we are going to be working with just the injected connector and the web wallet connector. So next up is writing the interface to set up for the starknet props. So this is stuff that have to do with TypeScript and all that. So next, we try to set up our different connectors within the provider. And I told you guys that provider is a normal functional component that you know, as you guys can see here. So this is us trying to set up our connector now. Oh, let me fix this. All right. So this is we trying to set up our connector. We brought in two different injected connectors and set them up with the options, the ID, Agent X, and then the name Agent X, to signify that one of these connectors is going to be the agent extension. So anytime a user clicks the connector, clicks the modal to connect or clicks the connect button, the modal is going to show him these three connectors that we set up here. The first connector is the Agent X, which is the agent extension. The next connector is the Bravos extension. And lastly, this connection is for the web wallet connector, which is just going to allow us to sign up with our email and do all those transactions and all that. So that's what we need these connectors for the setup. And then lastly, anytime this functional provider is called, it returns this starknet config component. So the configuration component is like the main stuff, right? All these things we are importing and trying to set is because we want to fix them within the starknet config provider. So this is starknet config. And then mind you, this is completely built for us by by the starknet React team. And like I told you guys, starknet React is an abstract of starknet.js that was built with hooks and all those stuff to help us easily interact with the starknet blockchain and connect our dApps and all those stuffs. So first, we are setting up our chains. So this provider accepts like different, what do we call it now? What's the name of this? Is it attributes or props? Yeah, props. React devs. So these accept like different props. But for this class, this is what we are going to be working with. So the first props he accepts is the chains. So the chains are going to be which of the chains we want to work with. Do you want to work with mainnet or Sepolia? So users are going to know which one they are going to be connected to. So, and I don't really think we are going to be needing this mainnet guy because our smart contract is deployed on testnet. But let's just leave it there. Next is the provider. Which of the provider are we working with? So in this case, we are working with the public provider, which is still also given to us by starknet React. But behind the scene, this public provider is just our normal Nethermind free provider. So we can also choose to copy and paste the Nethermind URL here, and then we are good to go. Or we can get our keys from Alchemy and then paste it here, and we are also good to go. So any of those can also work. But then let's just work with what we have here. Now, the next prop is the connectors prop. So the connectors are the different connectors that we want our users to connect with to be able to interact with our contract. So in this case, as you can see, the connectors are these guys that we set up here, which I've already explained, the agent extension, Bravos, and also the web wallet extension. So these are the three connectors. And then lastly, we set them as connector, which I told you guys is a type that we got from starknet kit. So most of these things are coming together and we are getting good to go. So lastly is the Explorer. So the Explorer is Voyager in this case. This is the Explorer I want to work with, so I can pass it here. I can also pass it in an array form and then pass also stack scan. So I can choose to work with it, any of those provider at all. And then lastly, I can choose to add one more, which is not here. This is the auto connect props. So with auto connect, automatically, anytime you set this up, once a user has connected, the last connector that the user connected with, once the user tries to access the app, automatically is going to connect for the user where he left off. So without him, anytime he leaves our app, he has to come back to connect again, all those boring stuff that can get users to run away from your page. User experience is very, very important for users to continue using your application. So if you build stuff that is going to keep stressing users over and over again, over time, they are going to get tired of coming to your platform. Because if I know that I come to your platform, I have to connect. Every time I leave it, I have to come back and connect. To be honest, I will run. All right. So, and then one of the main reasons that have hindered user onboarding into Web3 is some of these things we try to trash out in this class. So lately, users had to face stuff like paying for gas for their transactions. But now with the Paymaster, it's much more easier. So like, I'm a testimony for this with the product I'm building. So recently we launched Tweetool, which is a Wordle game on Starknet. And then we integrated the Agent Invisible SDK. And then it had the Paymaster working and all those stuffs. So with that, we could easily onboard users who are coming from Web2 background and have nothing at all or had never had any interaction with Web3 before. And how was it easy? First and foremost, they didn't need to install a browser extension. That's one thing that drives users away. Anytime they want to interact and then you tell them, hey, install an extension, install this. Now that layer of having to install another thing before using your dApp is going to make them run away. So they didn't have to work with that because with the Agent Invisible SDK, by just clicking the connect button, a pop-up is going to be out for them to connect. Now, next up, we gave users the normal Web2 flow they know, having them to just connect with their email. And then lastly, even while they are connected into the Web3 platform, they didn't have to pay for their gas, or maybe when they try to interact, they see, hey, you have to pay for gas, or a pop-up is going to come. No, they didn't have to see any pop-up again to tell them to sign a transaction, simply because the first time they are interacting with our platform, we have already signed all the necessary stuff with the session keys, and we're just waiting for them to interact. So after they connected with the session keys, next we are paying for all the transactions. So anything you do within our game, either you make an attempt or you try to claim points or try to register as a player and all that, it is all being handled for you by the Paymaster and by the session keys. So a lot of things are being made easy, and now you can use Web3 platforms like it's just your normal Web2 stuff. Yeah, but enough of Tweetool. Let's just get into the order of the day. So lastly, we wrap this starknet config around children. So this simply means anything we put in between these just provide the necessary stuff that is being given by this configuration in there. So the whole component that is going to be the children or the child component of the starknet config, which is the parents, are all going to be provided with all the necessary data, all the necessary stuffs they need from the starknet config file. So that's basically what is happening here in the starknet provider, which is the most important file to set up as a starknet front-end developer. All right, so the next step is trying to set this up with our application. And then let's see if we can connect. And then lastly, we are going to try to connect with our smart contract. So now we have set up the config, which next up, we are going to try to set up our accounts to be able to connect with our accounts and also disconnect from it. So let's proceed. I think we are done with this page. If you have questions, do well to look through, write them down, and we're going to be taking them by the end of the session. Or if you feel it's very much important to take your question, you can as well just call my attention if it's needed for the current stuff we are working on. Can call my attention, I will stop, take your question, and make sure it's being settled before we proceed. So who is pumped? Let me see your emojis to be sure I'm not alone. And then let me use this style to stylishly take a break and get a bottle of water. So you guys can just give me your emojis to be sure we are together. All right, so Mojid is with us. Nice. Is the only Mojid in the class? I need to ensure that Mojid has a partner here. So Mojid doesn't end up being the only cracked Web3 dev. Who else? Ricardo. Who again? I think I saw Ebuka. But it is I can't see your reactions, so I'm trying to. Oh, let me not stress to see that. All right, so let's assume that Mojid has spoken for everyone and he's the spokesman. So Mojid, do well to give me your thumbs up. So I always know you are available. So if Mojid is available, it means everyone is available. Awesome. All right, so next up, let's try to set this up in the main file, which is the entry point of our application, as React Dev knows. So in the main file, we are going to try to wrap up our app with the starknet config. So wrapping up our app with the starknet config, automatically our app is going to be a child component under the starknet config. So with that, the whole of our app is going to have access to anything that has to do with the connections we've done with starknet. I mean stuffs like having access to our address, having access to our account to be able to sign transactions and all those other stuffs that we are going to be looking at. All right, so let's just do that ASAP. All right, so back here, let's import it. I don't think we need. So let's import starknet provider. We already have it here, .tsx, and then starknet provider. So let's wrap it around our app. Yep. All right. So that's set up, and then we are sure that our app is going to have access to everything that we have integrated. So the next of all the heavy burdens are going to be done within the app.js file, which currently is empty. So let's try to go back there and see what we have. So for now, we have nothing in here. So meaning this page is empty. So to be sure, let's write a component here and say, let's build it up. Oh, we're having a white screen. And why is that? Let's try to check why. So let me just inspect this and check the console. Okay. All right, so let's just proceed. Since we are not getting any errors from here, maybe things might fix up as we go. All right, so the first thing we want to do is to implement the wallet connection. So you all know the access to for you to have access to your blockchain, to the blockchain, that is to write to it, not necessarily reading. For you to write to it, you need your public and private keys. And then we all know that all those are managed for us by our wallets. So now let's try to create the modal and all those stuff that is going to help us to pop up anytime a user wants to connect. So when the user clicks on the connect button, he's set to access that. All right. So we need a few stuffs from Starknet React to make this possible. That is two stuffs. Use connect and use disconnect. First, or we can just work with Starknet Kit with this. Yeah, I think that will make more sense. So let's work with Starknet Kit, both their connection and also their disconnection. So let me not work with Starknet React this time. So let me just head back to the Starknet Kit docs. So you all can see. Yeah, so we've passed through all this setup. Yeah, next, this guy. Yeah, but they are still giving us the connectors from this one. So why? Let's try to use it without this and see. Okay, so this is it. Now we can just work with this guy. Either use the connect from Starknet Kit to get started. All right, so let's do that. So back here. So let's import Let's also import these other guys from starknet React. Yep, so this is supposed to be from. So what are we importing? Connector use counts. We'll be needing this. Let me get use connect to and use disconnect. So these are some of the hooks given to us by starknet React that solves all our problems. Right? So let's do the necessary setup that we are going to be needing. So first and foremost, we are going to start making use of the use connect hook. So we are going to get two stuffs from use connect, which first and foremost is the connect function, which is the function that has been written for us. And anytime that function is called, maybe let's say we build a button and then add that function to our onClick function, add the function to our onClick events. Anytime that function or that button is being clicked, is going to trigger the necessary stuffs needed for the connection to establish a connection. So we establishing a connection now is we trying to have access to our account. And like I told you guys, account is what you can use to interact with the blockchain, that is to write to the blockchain. So connect and connectors. Yeah, all the structure that are not used. So next, we are going to try to set up the starknet connect kit modal. So the starknet connect kit modal is that modal that pops up. And it's a custom modal that is given to us by starknet kit. So that modal that pops up anytime you click on the connect button. So that's what we are going to try to set up now. So for us to use that, we are going to get that from starknet kit. So let's import it. The name is starknet kit connector. That is it. And then lastly, use starknet kit connector modal. So the two guys we are going to be working with. And then the last time, if you guys remembered, we had an issue with this guy simply because it is a type. So I'm going to write that in front of it so we don't get into those issues again. Once beaten, twice shy, like they say. So it has beaten us once, and then we refuse to be shy again. So let's set up the connector modal. So next, what we are going to do is try to set it up. So we are going to call this method, which is use starknet kit connector connect modal. And then we are going to pass in some an object of options into it. So what you accept is connectors. And then we set the necessary connectors. I would say connectors as starknet kit connector. Connectors. Okay, I think I was correct. So what this is going to be returning for us at the end of the day is the starknet kit connect modal that we are going to be working with. All right. So yeah. So this setup, this is the most. So now we've set up the connect modal to help us out. So next up, now we are going to write the function to connect wallets. So this function is going to be an asynchronous function. And as soon as we call this function is going to trigger this modal that we just set up here. So that the modal is just going to show us our different connectors that we have set up. You remember the connectors we talked about? So let's try to set that up now. All right, so let's call it const connect. Let's call it function connect wallets or connect to wallets. No, let's just call it wallets. And then, like I told you guys, it's going to be an synchronous function. So in this function now, we are going to, first thing is to call the connect modal. So const the connector. So this is what is going to return back to us. Let's not worry about this first. Let's just write the statement that calls the modal. So as soon as we write await starknet kit connect modal, we call this function. So if this function goes through, it's going to return a connector for us. So remember, the starknet kit modal is going to, the modal is going to pop up with the different connectors we set up. And remember, within our application, we set up 3 connectors, right? The first agent X, the next is Bravos, and then lastly is the web wallet connector. So if it pops out this modal, anyone the user connects to is what is going to get returned back as our connector. Yeah, so that is it. Now, next up, we check if there's a connector, that is, it has successfully connected and the user selected one connector. Or let's check if not connector for now. So you all know in programming, the first most important thing to do is always to check for the errors first. Check for failure. Don't always worry about success. Worry about failure first. So that's why we are checking if a connection is not done. So if there was a problem in the connection or anything, what should happen? It should return. So what I want it to do is to return. Or first and foremost, it should console log. Let me console log no connector selected. Thanks to Copilot. But the Copilot can run Cairo a lot. So if you're writing Cairo, be careful with Copilot. Your Copilot might crash you. So if you're writing Cairo, know you are the pilot of yourself. But like I said, courtesy of Casa Labs, a lot of stuff have been simplified currently. So you can even vibe code in Cairo. So we are moving to that era where users can easily get onboarded to Cairo. So how about if we have a successful connection? What should happen? So next up, we are going to await the connection now. So await, and then we pass in we call the connect function. This connect function, we got it from the use connect hook. So this function is going to help us establish a connection with the connector that we selected. So if the user selects the agent X extension, the connector is automatically going to use agent X as our connector. If you select Bravos, it's going to use Bravos as our connector. So let's call the function connect. And the next thing we are going to pass in the connector. So let me just write this guy. is an object, and then which of the connector was being returned. So connector as connector, which is a type, right? Everyone is good. Everyone understands to this point. No one is confused. I hope so. If you are confused, just nod your head. So I'm sure we are together. So is anyone confused up to this point? If you are confused, make sure you have your notepad close to you and you're already writing down your question that you are going to pop up. So we already have the connect done, and with this, we are good to go. So next up, we can choose to do the necessary stuff. So let's now write the function or start building some of the components that we need within our application. So first and foremost, let me be sure I already have this button. So this is just going to look like the nav bar. Welcome to our bookstore. I'm going to fix the UI properly. But for now, let's just be sure everything is working. And then we are going to set up the button now. So it has already written it for me. So this button, as soon as we call the function, as soon as we click on this button, is going to call the connect wallet function. So what happens here, I just created a new button and then added an onClick function to it. React devs, this is nothing new to you guys. So the onClick function is a function that gets called when a button is clicked. So anytime it's clicked, it's an event, it's going to trigger the connect wallet function. And then you all know what the connect wallet function does, right? It's first and foremost going to go and trigger this starknet kit connect modal, which is going to show us all the different connectors we have. Then if a user selects a particular connector, it is going to try to establish a connection for us. So that's basically what we've done here. So with this button is going to be the guide to trigger all this stuff. So let's be sure that our button is set up and we are good to go. Back here, React is still showing white screen. So we must have to fix this before we go anywhere. Or instead, let me cancel this. Try to start this up again. All right, nice. So I'm seeing the problem now. Okay, you guys remember this problem, right? We faced it in the last class. And then I told you guys it's a problem from, I think, the SDK itself. So it needs starknet to work, but we don't have it installed now. So I think I have to install it. So as you can see, this is where the problem is coming from. So let me just click the file so you see. So you see, this is it. They are using starknet, but it's not set up. So let's just cancel and then try to install, add starknet with yarn. So let's do yarn, add starknet. And our problems should be gone. Just like having Jesus Christ in our life. Uh-oh. Incompatible model. What did I do? It says it's not compatible with this guy. Why is it not installing? As star error, the node is compatible with this version. Expected version greater than or equals to 22, but got version 20. Uh-oh, I'm using node version 20. That's funny. Okay. So let me just get a version that is going to work out for us. So let me just install version 6 instead of working with version 7. Since version 7 is not compatible with my node. And then I don't want to install or use NVM to change my version of node. I'm comfortable with the one I'm working with. So let's just add the @ and then install version 6.24.1. This should work. Perfect too. So this has worked out. All right. So let's go back to this and be sure that we are good to go. Okay, wait. Yandev. All right. And then I click this guy. Okay, so we already have it set up. As you can see, it's already boring stuff I didn't set up well. So I hope it looks like Tailwind CSS is already installed, but let's just test run that it went well. Text, let me change this text to red and see. So if it worked, the text color is going to change. Uh-oh. So that means we've not finished setting up our Tailwind CSS for the style. So let's just try to set this up and we are good to go. So back to, let's go back to the Tailwind CSS docs. And check what's haven't we not done. What's happening? Okay, let me set up my connection again, my VPN. Connect now. Something went wrong. Oh, now what's wrong with my VPN? So let's just cancel it and leave it out since it wants to stress me. I might not agree. Oh, let me go back to this tab. Is it connected here? Nope. Now this is tiring. Something as small as Google searching, I have to turn on my VPN. And I'm using a free VPN, so don't blame me for that. Because I know 90% of people on the call do the same. If this doesn't work, I just go back to Chrome and do my Google search in there. So it doesn't stress me. And if you upgrade to Wow, we don't have any much time. I just realized. So let's just do this real quick. And then we don't even have to style this, right? But does anybody have it in their head? They can just tell us how to go over the process. Because me, I dey Google search you. I don't save things in my head. Anything I know Google can keep for me, I'll go and ask it. Or ask my guy, ChatGPT. Big bro. I think we even ask big bro, so if that's very all right, so Tailwind. Yeah, so this should come up be nice. Which one am I work with? The first guy. Framework installation guides. All right, so I'm integrating for React. Does it show React here? I can't find React. Nope. Okay, yeah, this guide should help us out, right? Okay, I only install Tailwind, so I should install at Vite Tailwind. Then I configure the Vite plugin to your Vite configuration. All right. Just hang a sec. Let me do this. I think there's a command to initialize some certain stuff. But I can't seem to find it in the installation guide now. Has Tailwind changed some stuff? Guys, React devs. Because there's supposed to be a code that generates the Tailwind config file. But I can't seem to even find that in all these installation processes I'm seeing. Or am I in the wrong documentation? This is the right one now. Let me just Tailwind.
Good evening. Good evening. Sorry, I think you're in the right.
Yeah, good evening, sir.
Yeah, you're in the right one. So it's just this that first npm does it. So I think this new one, that's how once you just do the first one, the first command, then you follow by order, and then you just add the files to the main ones to the files. So it works. That should work.
Okay. All right. Gracias. So I think we've done the important one. Why this one never install finish? So the next, they say we should set it up in our Vite config file, right? So back here, and then let me grab it. So we should add this Tailwind CSS plugin. So let's import this. These are the two guys. And then let me get the plugin, Tailwind CSS, and pass it in. Okay. Nice. Good. So we have Tailwind set up because our text color have changed to red now. So thank you for your observation. So let's proceed. Now let me try to build a very minimalistic UI. You don't need to follow me on this. Let me vibe code it. As everybody says now, vibe code. Let's make this. Oh, what do we do? Let's make it a flex container, flex call. Let's make the width full, and then the height should be screen. Yep. Then furthermore, we are going to create a div. This guy is going to be our navbar. So bg, let's make it gray. Yeah, 800, like they put in there, text wise, justify between. I like everything there. All right, no problem. I'll work with what you give me because it's vibe coding. All right. So we already have it here. This is the bookstore contract. I don't need this welcome to my bookstore here. So I'm just going to take it out. So bookstore, and then next, I'm going to add this button for connection and disconnection. So let me just add it here since it's justified between, and that should work. Yeah, but why is it not reading this as a button? So let's set it up. Let's say cursor pointer. Let's give it the padding, and then let's change the BG. Let's make it a blue button. Let's say blue 600. To be honest, don't worry about the styles here, just perfecto. Don't worry about the styles, just worry about the functionalities we are trying to implement. All right, so this looks much more better, right? So we already have an app bar set up and then the book application. So we have just 30 minutes. So let me try to do this as fast as possible. So next, I'm going to create another div container. This, I'm going to make it grid. And then I'm going to make the columns to be 3 columns. Yeah. So inside of it, I'm going to create another div. This, I'm going to make it flex, and I'm going to make it span 2 of the columns we've created. Yeah, so let me just give this a color. Just a very light color. Just so that we can differentiate between the two. Uh-oh, what's happening? Read page dash calls to. All right, so this is where we're going to create the form to handle all our books. So let's do it. I like using H4 because I know with Tailwind by default used to take off all the default styles. So any of these elements you use, Tailwind regards them like your normal text. So create a book or add a book. Add a book here. Let's try to style it. Let's make the text to be a little bit bigger. So let's just make it like 30 px and have a look. So you can add a book here. Correspond to, okay, I know the problem. With full. Or let's inherit. Oh, things still haven't changed. Why? Flex. Okay. No need for that. Let's just do our other stuffs. So next, I'm going to add the necessary the form. We are going to create the form now where users can choose to submit all the necessary stuffs they need to create a book. So first and foremost, let's have a look at let's have a look at the contract that I wrote so that we can see the functions that we want to interact with and all those stuff. So let's just go to voyager.online and copy and paste the contract address in there. So the contract is deployed on Sequoia. So let me just grab the contract address and then paste it. So wait. All right. So I've gotten our contract. This is it. Paste it here. All right, so this contract is simple contract. I think I've called one function here to add book, but let's check out the write functions first. This contract contains just one write function, which is the function to add a book. And then this function accepts 3 parameters, which is just the name of the book, the title of the book, and who is the author. That's just 3 things, nothing serious. Oh, I made a mistake. I think I'm supposed to write description here and I still wrote title. So it's supposed to be title, description, and then author. But no issue. Let's just leave it as name, title, and author. But name and title are still the same thing to a book. My mistake. But that's because I was writing the code real fast to be able to achieve it. So our first function is to add book and all those stuffs. And we already have our contract here, which are the 3 stuffs we are going to work with. So the book accepts 3 parameters. This is just what I wanted us to see: the name, the author, and the title. So let's go back and then create 3 input boxes that are going to accept all these stuffs, and then we pass it into our contract. Nice. So it has done all these stuffs for me. Book name, author name. I'll just click on tab. So thank you to So as you can see, the 3 stuffs here, but let me fix this. Let me fix our design. So flex, make it flex call. Yep. And then we increase the padding. So let's pad everything in from here. So you can add a book here, just inside the name, the author name, and lastly, I think we need the title. So it's like 3 different stuff. So let's do the same, copy and paste here. And then let's say author name. So book name. Now, instead of the title, it's just the contract that knows that title. Let's call it description here. Yeah, so there you go. We are fully set up. So you need those 3 things: the book name, the description, the author name, And then when you click on add book, automatically it's going to add the book to our contract. Then we are going to try to read all the stuffs we got there. So we have done the most important thing, which is to implement this connection, and then it establishes a connection for us. So let me try to connect to Agent X, pops up, and then I put my password and connect. So it's connected, but currently this is not handled well because in the UI, when the user successfully connects, I'm supposed to show the disconnect wallet button so the user can disconnect. And also we are going to show the user's wallet address so that we can see it. But how can we access all those stuffs? It can be made possible with starknet React and starknet Kit, so we can read all those stuff. So first and foremost, let's try to read the address. But before then, let's do check first. So we are going to conditionally render this connect wallet. That is going to be the next thing we are going to do. So first and foremost, we are going to work with address. So the most important thing, let's get our address in scope. So we can get address from use account. So use account is gotten from starknet React. So how the Copilot know? Copilot know what I want. I like this. So no need of disconnection. But then we are just having access to accounts here. Well, I don't want access to account, I want access to address. So this is the user's address, right? I'm showing this because they are on use. So let me just take off accounts and use only address so that when we want to use accounts, we'll come back and make use of accounts and we know where we want to work with it. So I'm going to conditionally show this button, and I want this button only to show when there is no address. So I'm going to say not address, then the ternary operator to show this. And then if there's an address, it should show the disconnect wallet button, or for now, let's just show the address. So let's do it in a H4 and and then we write the address here. So if there's an address, meaning it is connected, it will show us. If it's not, then it won't. So as you can see, I'm already connected, and this is my whole long address. This boring guy here. So let me try to set it up. Now, instead of showing the address, it should show the disconnect button. So we have to build a button that is going to help us run the disconnection. It's as easy as doing the connection stuff. So, but no need of that. Let's just work with the address that we have here and then try to, what's happening? And then try to implement these three stuff. Good. So you see, with the help of the auto connect, as soon as I refresh the page, automatically connected back for me. Instead of me, when I refresh or when I go back to ask me to still connect again. So that's the use of that auto connect that we worked with. So let's keep going. Emojis, if we are together and you guys are enjoying the session. Good, Mujid, you are doing your job right. I like that. All right, so now a user is connected and we are good to go. So what next now? Next is try to get the data that we have from this place and try to make a write call to the smart contract. So let's do that. So it's nothing different from what we have been doing from React before. Let's just try to set up the state to handle all of these stuffs for us so that when we click the button, we can have them. So let's work with this. So first and foremost, we need a state to manage all our different form data, or we can individually have a state that is going to help us manage the individual data I want to send. So first and foremost, let's say the title. So let me do this one after the other so that people who are not React devs is going to be easy to comprehend and understand. But React devs know that there's a much more easier way to do this. So First, I'm going to create states. So what's the first state? Let's say the first state is the book title, which is the same as the name, and then set title. So in this case, I want it to be empty. So use state is not imported. Let me get that. And then the next stuff is to get the description, and lastly, the author. So these three state variables are what we are going to be working with to handle the states of this form information. So everything that we type in inside of this form, we want to handle it in a state, and then automatically when we click on the button to add book, it's going to take all the information from the state and send it to our contract. Then our contract is going to make the call to handle everything and then save our book, and we are sure everything is working. So let's do that. How do we manage that now? We have to set up everything in the different input boxes. So let me set that. I think the first thing is to set the value, right? So in this case, our value is, the value here is title. And then I'm going to add one more stuff on change. So this on change is a function that is going to get called anytime anything changes inside of this input box. So it's one of those attributes that React devs know about a lot. So on change, then I'm going to pass E, and then I'm going to say anytime anybody calls this, you should call set title. And then pass E dot target dot value. So in this case, E is being represented as the whole of this input box. And then any of the value that's inside of this input box is going to be tagged as our set title. So next, let's do the other guys. Same thing. Let's try to set their value. So the value of this guy is description. And then when it's been changed, so let me just copy and paste this guy, sharp, 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 no time. We have few minutes to go, and we don't know the amount of bugs we can face in front. Though I'm sure whether the time for this class passes, everybody is still going to be with me. Simply because everybody wants to be a starknet dev by the end of this bootcamp. And then lastly, author. Who is the author? So on change, still copy and paste that big. Set author. E.target.value. So these three guys are going to be the guys doing all the setup for us. So lastly now, I want to be sure everything is working. So let me create a function. Now this function is going to be the function that will be called anytime I click on this button, which is add book. So this function is going to be function. Let's call it function add book. All right. So it's also going to be an asynchronous, or it has already written it for me. Yeah, but I don't want it to be handle submit. I want it to be add book. Function add book, which is an async function. This is how to spell async. I'm going to spell async. Oh, okay. Good. So next, let's prevent defaults. So you all know what preventing defaults is, React devs. So we'll say e.prevent defaults. So what this does is that, on default, if you click a button in React, what is going to happen is it's automatically going to refresh the page. So we are preventing that default stuff of refreshing the page that is used to, giving it a new stuff now to do instead of all those. So, well, it's good. Let's check if there's an address to be sure that the user is connected. And then here, we are still going to need these stuffs to refresh to what now? To reset the form after all this is done. But what I want us to do now is let's do an alert. Yeah. And then the alert should alert all the necessary books that were added. So this just a test run to show that everything that we have written is working. That's why I wrote this guy. So let's try to add a new book. Maybe let's say our book is Learning Cairo. That's the name of our book. And then our description is Cairo Learning. We can just write gibberish here. And then the author is Manouh. So if we click on this, it should give us an alert. Uh-oh, what happened? It's not preventing the default too. So let's fix this. Oh, I know the problem. The problem was I'm supposed to call this add book function in my form so that anytime I submit the form, the add book function is going to get called. But I wrote the function without calling it. So React dev, nobody wanted to save me with that. Everybody wants to see me go into trouble. So let's add the onSubmit here and then pass the add book function. So anytime a user submits this button, is going to call the add book function. So fingers crossed this should work. Let's still write gibberish. So if we get gibberish return, we know we are good. Good. So this is it. That's giving us book added, this, that, but that's not what we want to work with. So let's work with, and then finally it resets the page. So we have connected, we have set up the form that we want to help us make this call. Next thing we want to do now is we want to interact with our smart contract. That's what we want to do. So interacting with the smart contract, we need to do two stuffs. First, the contract address. Next, we need the ABI. So as fast as possible, let me just try to do this. So you can create and add your ABI in a utils folder, or you can just do it open since we are just doing this in the class. So let me just call this ABI.json and then get my ABI. So remember I told you guys where you can get your ABI yesterday. I said you can easily just head over to Voyager, go to code after you paste in your contract, and then your ABI is going to be here. So you copy it, and then let's paste it in our ABI.json, and then try to import it and make use of it within our app. So our ABI is here. I remember I told you guys the ABI is like a blueprint of all our functions, the parameters they accept, and all those stuffs. So if you check here, you are going to see everything that we wrote within our contract. But I wrote the contract, so you guys are not familiar with it. So now only me go understand. So now let's work with our contract. Now let's bring our contract into scope and then try to interact with it. So to interact with our contract now, we are just going to work with the contract API, which is given to us courtesy of starknet.js. So I'm going to be doing the interaction with starknet.js now. Like I told you guys, I'm not going to be interacting with starknet React. Starknet React can help us with the connection and all that. But when I want to interact, I interact with starknet.js simply because I don't want to use those starknet React hooks. You can use them. They are very much easy to use, and that's why I don't want to use them. So you guys can try to use it all by yourselves. But just know your assignment is going to be you using it from starknet React. So let's do that. So to set up the contract, all I just need to do is call this contract keyword. So I will just say new contract. So let me try to import contract. So contracts are already given to us from starknet. I just click OK and then pass in the three stuffs needed from contract. So the parameters needed are number one, the ABI. So my ABI in this case is the to do ABI, right? So let me import it too. So let me import, let's call it, what's ABI now? Let's call it book ABI, since we are building for a bookstore, and then we are getting it from where now? /utils /ABI.json. So that's where we're getting it from. So that's the first parameter we pass in here, book ABI. Now the next parameter is the contract address that we want to work with. So let me bring my contract address into scope. So let me save it here. Let me save it as a constant variable. So let's say const. Let's just call it contract address. And then let me pass in my contract address here. So where's this guy? That's this guy, right? Paste it here. On default, some stuffs are supposed to be written inside of our env file, but there will be no need for that. So next, we call the contract address. And then lastly, the last thing this contract accepts is the provider, which in this case, our provider is going to serve as our account. So our account is going to be the guy that is going to be signing the transactions. Now, this is where we need accounts. We can get accounts from the use account hooks. So let's just copy this guy from accounts. And then let's paste our account here. So if this is all good, all this is possible, we are going to have our contract instance being returned for us. So let's call it book contract. So the instance of this contract is going to be returned for us after all this is done. And then we can have access to all the functions, and then we can interact with them, which is going to be the first thing we are going to be doing here. So in the add book function, we are going to call the add book function from our smart contract. So how do we call it? Now we have gotten the instance of our contract, which is from book contract. Next is to use the dot notation and then have access to that function, and we can successfully call it. So it's already set up here for us. It's just left for us to unmute it and then change the necessary stuff needed. So it doesn't know contract, but it knows book contract. All right, so this is set up. If this works out, then these three stuffs are going to get sent to our smart contract, and successfully a book is going to get created on our smart contract instead of calling an alert to say book has been created. But still yet, I will need to call that alert. Still yet, I will call the alert. Book successfully added. So back to this. Now let's impute the necessary stuff. If all things go well, we should see it within our contract that we have gotten a book. Oh, we only have 7 minutes to the end of this class. So the name of our book is starknet Frontend. The description is a descriptive starknet Frontend book. And then lastly, the author name is Manouh. So let's click on add book and then wait for things to go through. So I've clicked on add book, and then if everything goes well, we should see the alert to say that, hey, book has been added. So let's just wait for that to go through. Are you sure we're not going to work with the console? Let me just use the console so that I can see how everything is going. But let me be sure that that call was made or not. Not that I canceled it in process. So let me check the account calls. Okay, nothing was added, meaning it didn't go through. So await book contract, but add book, we have accounts. Nice. So let me add a few console.logs so that we can easily manage these stuff. So we know if there's a problem, we know where. So console log, adding book. And then finally, when it's done, we console log book added successfully so that we just see everything in the console. All right, let's try one more time. Refresh, make sure our connection is done. Let's call it starknet front end. And then finally, the author name. Also, we have a problem. It says add book is not a function. That's because in the contract, it's trying to make this call, but then it experiences an issue. And that's simply because the function we are calling here doesn't exist in our smart contract, this add book function. Now, let's see the function that exists in our contract. So the function that exists is add underscore book. Yes, so let's fix that and try again. All right, so fingers crossed, this should go through. Perfecto. So can you see? It just give me the pop-up. Can you guys see the pop-up? And then the function I want to call, which is the add book function, gives me all these, give me the estimated fee I want to pay. Do I want to pay either in Stack or Ethereum? Any token you have at all in Starknet, you can use any token to pay for gas with the courtesy of Paymaster, any token at all. At times, I even use meme coins to pay for my gas. Like I had this meme coin I bought, and then things went really bad, but I still kept it in my wallet. Now I just use it to sign transactions. So I have a lot of Stack, so let's confirm it. And then hope our transaction goes through. So it says book added successfully. All these have been executed. If I go back to my contract, I can be able to see that a call went through. So let's check the account calls. But then Sepolia is kind of slow. I noticed that. Yeah, so you can see we just added book a minute ago, which was the last transaction that we did. So we can try to read from here and then see. So let's try to get book. I think this is the second book I created, so the ID should be one, and then try to query it. Yeah, so all our details are here. Next thing, we are going to try to read from a smart contract. So sorry, it's currently 8 o'clock, and we're supposed to stop right now for the class, but I will need just 10 minutes of your time so we can do the read and be sure that we have fulfilled whatsoever we need as Starknet devs. So let me see your emojis if you are in the opinion that we continue. But if you say we should stop at writing, because writing is actually the most important thing. If you say we stop at writing, then we'll stop here. All right, emojis are spoken for everyone. But not everyone will like this one this time around. Some people will reverse for emoji. All right, so next up is to do something really quite easy. Now, this time around, what we want to do is we want to read the books we have read. All the books we have added, we want to read them now from our smart contract. So I have two read functions, but I will only use one, which is get all books. So that's a function to get all the books that we have added, right? All right, real quick. So let me just do that. So to read, we are going to try to set up a use effect because we want it to always keep to date so that as soon as we add a book, we should just have it automatically without any stress or all those stuff. So let's just try to do that and write the use effect to help us set things up. So for those who are non-React dev, you know what? Sorry, for those who are React dev, you know what use effects is for? It's just a hook that helps us to, that has a dependency array, and then the dependency array, anytime anything changes, automatically is going to call that function, or by default is a hook that gets called as soon as we enter any page that the use effect is being set up. And that's not a perfect explanation, but you can go back and check React's tutorials on how that is explained properly. Now, the dependency area I was talking about. So next up is to try to write the function to read our data. Now, the function to get this calls from our smart contract is going to be an asynchronous call because we don't know how long it's going to take to read all those information. And then you all know as React devs that asynchronous function cannot get called inside of a use effect. So all you have to do is you have to call a function and then call the asynchronous inside of it, right? All those boring things that JavaScript wants to suffer us for. So let's write a function called function fetch data. And then this is going to be the normal function, which is async, that is going to help us make this call. Oh, I know beg, you are beg. All right, so this is the function fetch data. And then after everything is done, fetch data is going to get called fetch data like this. So what do I want to do in this function? Something really quite simple. I just want to read from the blockchain. And then I've written a getter function. So the same way I did the write, the same way I will do the read. Now remember, there are hooks written by starknet React that can help you with this. So with those hooks, you don't have to write this use effect that I wrote. You don't have to write it. With those hooks, you just call the hooks, pass in the necessary things you need, and then it will do the call for you. In short, there's a use contract read that you can pass in a bunch of all the read functions you want and at once to just make that call. So you don't have to go through the stress of doing all this setup of use effects and all that. So I will advise you go and check out all those hooks to help you out. So next, I want to get the list of books, which is let books equals to, now I make the function call, await book contracts dot get books. Now the function to get books, let's go back to our contract and check it out now. So this get book, which is to get only one book, but I want to get all the books, so I'll call get books. So underscore get books, that's the function. It doesn't accept any parameter. And then after it does that, I want to, so let me just set it as books.
With S.
Yep. Okay, yeah, with S, if not for Sierra. Sharp guy. Oh, from yesterday's session, I noticed there are Indians on the call. I just saw Krishna now. Yeah. So I hope I haven't confused you and you have been getting my accent. Thank God I did not speak a lot of broken English today. All right, so I call the use effect, and if everything goes well, I want it to console log all our books. Let's refresh this and see. Do we have anything in the console? Use effect, this is supposed to work now. Get books. Let me be sure that the function is get books. Yes. And then what else? Red books, because I wait this guy. Yes, then we console log it. All right, let's try again.
Ricardo in the comments is saying whether we need to pass any ID to that.
No. We don't need to pass in an ID. We don't need to either prevent the fault. Okay, line 48. Yeah, I know where the problem is coming from. It has already told us here. So I think the problem is coming from our provider. And that's because the node we are trying to connect to here, remember, we are using that public RPC, which is free, right? So it's that free RPC that is giving us a problem. It doesn't work much with a lot of use effects. So if you query it too much, it can fail. It doesn't have guarantee. But let's look properly what it's saying. So the best thing to do is just to change the RPC. If I click it, you see it points me to line 48. Yeah. So let's just change our RPC now to another RPC. I think I have an alchemy. So just allow me, let me just go and get my alchemy RPC ASAP and get back to you. What is happening? I'm asking on the call. Can you guys see me?
We can hear you, sir, but
Or
yeah,
you can see me, right?
yeah.
I don't know why my Google search is not working again. So alchemy. My village people no grill. We have to work with the public provider. Let me see. But still yet our account is a provider now. So, okay, but that was just for reading. Yeah, but our account is also a provider. Book contract.get books. Let's try to pamper it and see. Okay, coming. Let me fix address. So anytime address changes to trigger the use effect again. Perfect. What am I getting here? That's a lot. No, I didn't create up to this number of books, please. Yeah, I'm sure I already have only one book there. So why is it giving me this excess number? Well, I think that's because this problem might come from my contracts because what I'm just trying to do is I'm checking the counts and then I try to loop through to get all those from the map. It's just like way I do it. All right, but we can just try to display these guys. But to be honest, I don't want to see all of this. So let me check my contract real quick. Books array, books underscore counts. Oh, I see the problem. I see. Just because I didn't add that U. Guys, let me just deploy a new instance of this contract. It's not going to be sharp, we'll do them. And then we don't have to change anything from the ABI and all that. So we are still good. So that we can get the data well. I asked for 10 minutes and it's past 10 minutes. Should I ask for another one? Yes. All right, so I've declared the contract. Let me just deploy it real quick. Yeah. Perfect. So let's just switch the contract address to this one. ASAP, no time. All I just have to do is come here and then I paste this guy here. So that's all. You can choose to call again to get the data. So let me search it here so that we can always reference. All right, so we don't have any call, no book, nothing created. Perfect. So let me try to create another book and then we'll try to get all the books again. Yeah, here. So let me refresh. All right, so as you can see now, it's showing me an empty array, right? Meaning my books are empty. So let me create a new book now, starknet. Or let's call it my first book. Yeah, let's say the first book I wrote myself. Author, Manouh. It's a very interesting book. I will advise you check it out. So let me confirm this. And the book has been added successfully. But then this is Sepolia, so it takes a bit of time before everything is going to augment and the blockchain is going to know about this information. So let me just refresh this and then I should have one book. Good, perfect. So as you can see, I have one book here. With the name, title, but then it didn't pass that in. Oh. Coming, let's fix this. This problem should be coming from here. At the title, description, and author. Yeah, are the three guys with this now. So let's try to create another book again. Because the last time this went through, so this is supposed to go through. And then let's make Gino, don't cry again. Okay, now we have 2 books. Okay, now it came with a name and all those, but the last one didn't give us all those details, so shows that it's set up now. So next thing now is we want to display these books within our front end. So successfully now we have already read. Now we just want to display it in our front end so that anytime we create a new book, users can be able to see it on the front end. And then there's one more functionality where you can borrow a book, but because of time, we are not going to implement that. But just know that anything we do here is the same thing you will keep doing over and over again. As a blockchain dev, it's just reading and writing. Or as a dApp builder, you are just reading and writing, nothing else, nothing special that you are doing again. So at some point, you will even get tired of doing that. You will read and write like you are in primary 1. So next now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new state variable called books. And then once all my books are being returned from the smart contract, I will store them in that state. So anytime a use effect runs, it gets all the books, store them in the state, and then I display it in the contract for the users. So let's call these books and then set books. Good. I'll just leave this empty. I don't care whether it's an array or not. Then lastly, after it has console log book, you should set books to what? Set books to books. All those things we have there. So if that's good enough, then next thing we are working with should work out. Call dash spam. Good. So the next place within this short corner is where I'm going to display all my books. Don't span 2, just span 1. Okay. So I'll display all my books here. Now create a div. I make it flex container, flex dash call. And then React guys, you know the normal mapping we do, right? So first and foremost, I'm going to check if there are books or not. So if books and books.length is greater than 0, because you know books is an array. And on default, we have already created it that this guy is an array here. But for us to know that we have books, we need to be sure that the length of the array is greater than 0, because this is 0. So if the array length of the array is 0, it means no books. But if it's greater than 0, it means there are books. So we say if there are books and books.length is greater than 0, what should we do? Create this div, map all the books. Let me just work with this guy since he wants to help me. But this help is not even good enough help. I don't need it. All right, so if this works out, right in my div, we should get this div. But if there are no books, we say no books available for now. Or H4. Let me do this in H4. No books available. But if there are books, we are going to get all the books. I think I need to cover this guy. Okay. So now within this div, we are going to try to map now. So let's try to map books. So let's say books. How am I supposed to do it here?
Hi, Manuel.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, how many more minutes do you need to round up? So,
We're almost done. We just want to see them in the front end and we are good to go. We have already read and write already. So we have achieved what we want.
okay, cool.
All right. So let's try to map this and then so every book should return this guy. So first and most importantly, let's just get the book title. Is I'm sure there's author. And then from the contract, this description, we saved it as title, right? So let's try to have a look. Perfect. So I think we already have it here, but it's just that the data is a bit confusing. So let's just fix it properly. All right. So this might look like very, very ugly, but you all understand what we are talking about or what we try to achieve here. So let me set this. Let's just write title and then the description. All right, so that's good to go. So we can see the stuffs that we added in here, the title, description, but then remember the last one was empty, right? So let's try to do the last one now. Let's just call it last trial. And we are done for the day. So who created this book? Let's say everyone. And one more thing, so that our UI is going to refresh automatically. So in the use effects, I will just add the books as a dependency so that anytime a book is created, it's going to refresh the UI automatically. All right. So create a book again, click confirm. If all this goes well and then a new book is added, we should have about 3 boxes here to show this. So why is this? Let me try to refresh. No books available. Perfect. So can you see the last book we created? We are done for the day, last trial, and that is it. So this might look very ugly, but at the end of the day, we just try to achieve integrating our starknet smart contract to a front end. Because you have starknet.js, starknet kit, starknet react, and all those other tools. So thank you very much for your time. Thank you for your patience. And then thank you for sticking around. And thank you, Starknet Africa, for the opportunity.
Yeah, thank you so much for the class,
So
man.
Mojid has clapped for everyone. So that means everyone is clapping.
Yeah, thank you so much for the class, man. And yeah, it's pretty much understandable. Not everyone actually would interested like in building front end, which is understandable. But I believe that everyone that sticked around to the end of this session grabbed like something solid because Manoa is a good tutor and we look forward to inviting him to the future bootcamps that we would have. And just like I highlighted earlier before the start of the session, this is the last session of the Cairo Bootcamp. So next week and next 2 weeks will be the project phase, right? So every participant of the bootcamp is expected to like participate in this project phase. You can join a team, You can collaborate with each other. Most important thing is that we see something solid at the end of the day, and we have $1,000 prize pool, which will be spread across first place, second place, and third place, 500, 300, and $200 respectively. But yeah, I mean, that's basically all for the live session, and we're going to send out a detailed email about the project phase, so what you're expected to do, or how you're going to submit your assignments, and so on and on, as well the graduation week as well. But yeah, that's all basically, and thank you all for joining, and good night. Thank you, Manouh.